Yes, sir.
They gave me that. I'm gonna put that right there and I'll get it.
Roger that, sir. I'm sure it's gonna more.
I heard I'll leave it up here. Where do I put it?
Because I'm gonna be standing there giving you guys.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff.
No, just like this and everything. I'll just be the one to talk.
Be hanging up on the wall. There. So.
You also.
Only 7.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. 45 or 50? What time do you want to make the announcement?
45. Give me time.
45. We'll get some time going.
The general had me.
People, it seems like we're going to ask that the commission needs to go outside, kind of start lining up outside in the back right, and then if people start taking their seats, making sure people are in the right seats for heading on, okay?
The general had me at this line.
Sure.
Where do you want me to put it?
I would love for you to figure that out.
Roger that.
Thank you. I will agree with whatever you do. We're good, right?
We got a few minutes.
We're good though, right? Good.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will begin shortly within 15 minutes. If not already, please make your way to your seats at this time. Commissionees, please rally outside of the commissioning hall towards the main entrance of the building. Guests, for your convenience, we have a ceremony photographer who will be uploading all pictures from today's ceremony online, which can be accessed via the QR code located on the back of your program. Thank you. That's really why I took the job. The first time I've ever been this tall. out to the lobby. They're getting you guys ready. Yes, sir. That's the idea. Look pompous and circumstantial, right? For the first time ever, yeah. For once, I'm not looking up at anybody. There's going to be one long line in the front of the stage. We couldn't fit them all up here. That was the problem. Sir?
Still on track?
Yep.
Ready for this, buddy?
Are you?
Oh, yeah. This is all my hard work paid off, man. That looks good.
What's
I'm
that?
happy we did that, actually.
Oh, the peanut gallery?
Something like that, right? All right, perfect. I don't know when I'm going to march in and sit down, but I will eventually. Sitting down. I'm going to head outside. Good job. Good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, the commissioning ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. If not already, please make your way to your seats at this time and please silence all electronic devices. For your convenience, any photographs taken by our ceremony photographer today will be uploaded electronically and you can access them via the QR code on the back of your pamphlet. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will now begin. If able, please rise for the arrival of the official party. Please welcome our Soaring Eagle officer candidates. Please remain standing for the posting of the colors by our Detachment 157 Honor Guard, the national anthem sung by Cadet Skylar Whitmire, and the invocation from Embry-Riddle Chaplain, Reverend David Keck.
Arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night
Good afternoon. I take that back. It's a bad afternoon. It's a bad afternoon for our nation's enemies. Because it's a great afternoon for these commissionees, a great afternoon for our university, a great afternoon for our Air Force, a great afternoon for our country, a great afternoon for the world. It's wonderful to be here together. Today we give thanks in their invocation for all those who made this day possible. At the end of the invocation, I will say, let all God's children say, or I invite you to respond, amen. Let's give thanks. Thank you, dear Lord. This is a day which you have made. We rejoice and are glad in it. We thank you for this day and all the years of preparation have gone into it. We thank you for that moment when each of these commissionees first began to dream of serving in the United States Air Force. We thank you for that moment where they knew it was a reality and that this day would come. We thank you for all those who have been helping them along the way, family, friends, cadre members, teachers, staff, faculty, so many folks, coaches, all at work, getting them ready for this day and for many years of service ahead. You know the challenges will be great, the dangers beyond our imagination, but you also know that you have given them what they need to succeed. And so we thank you. And dear God, please keep them safe so they may keep us safe and keep the world safe. Guide them and give them your wisdom to make the right decisions, the courage to stand up what is right, and a hunger for the justice that the world needs. Be with them through all their years of service, both in uniform and in out, and bless them, for you have blessed them to be a blessing. And let all God's children say, amen.
Thank you to the Honor Guard, Cadet Whitmire, and Reverend Keck. Please take your seats. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cadet Beauvais. I'm a senior here at Detachment 157, and I'm humbled to be your Master of Ceremonies this afternoon. We would like to thank everyone in attendance here today. Many of you have traveled very great distances to witness this grand occasion. And we are honored to have you here with us today at Air Force ROTC, Detachment 157, the Soaring Eagles Spring Commissioning Ceremony. I'd like to begin by introducing the Detachment 157's commander, Colonel Greg Adams, as well as our distinguished guest speaker, Major General Gregory H. Power, U.S. Air Force retired. I as well have the pleasure of welcoming several distinguished guests attending in today's audience, so please hold your applause until I've completed the list. This afternoon, we would like to welcome Dr. Randy Howard, Senior Vice President of the Chief Financial Officer of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Dr. Peter Hoffman, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Ms. Teresa Critchfield, Dean of Students. Brigadier General Retired Andy Donnelly, Professor of the College of Aviation. Colonel Retired Alan Dayton, former Detachment 157 Commander, as well as our honorary Detachment 157 Commanders, Colonel Chuck Groff, Mr. Bill Thompson, and Mr. Phil Bellamy. We also like to welcome our former detachment cadre members here today, Lieutenant Colonel Retired Michael Hollingsworth, Major Retired Joseph Dixon, and Technical Sergeant Ramon Santiago. Additionally, we'd like to welcome the members of the Embry-Riddle Student Government Association today, to include Mr. Andrew Chireno Garcia, the SGA President, Mr. Giovanni Zayas, the SGA Vice President, and Mr. Marcus Lopez, the SGA Treasurer. Also seated in the audience today is a very special group of Soaring Eagles. We are honored to welcome several members of Detachment 157's commissioning class of 1975. This year marks the 50th year since they took their oaths and began their service in the U.S. Air Force. As we witness the first steps of our commissionees, we also celebrate the legacy that the class of 1975 graduates have built over their careers in the Air Force. Lastly, but most importantly, we recognize the cadre and staff that are in attendance, especially our own Miss Marie Rolfs, who all had a tremendous impact on making today's ceremony a reality. Thank you all. So let's get to it. Today marks the closing of one chapter and the beginning of a new chapter in the lives of these 62 commissionees. The Gold Bar insignias earned today reflect years of dedication and determination with leadership laboratory, drill and ceremonies, expeditionary skills, intense physical training, academics, and field training as just some of the events that these cadets have conquered and have participated in throughout their time here. This is the crowning achievement of their university years, their officer training at the beginning of their careers in the world's most respected and powerful Air Force and Space Force. Second Lieutenant Select Simeon Span has been selected to be their class representative today. We would now like to welcome him to the podium to say a few words summarizing the experiences of this class.
All right, welcome everybody. So now that Cadet Beauvais has made us all acquainted, we're going to introduce a few more people. First, we'll learn Victor's story. Now, Victor is someone in our class we call our best friend. Remember Victor because he was there at our very first time together, which was September 1st, 2021 at L Lab 1. It was 6:30 in the morning, 90% humidity, and in the air, it was so thick that you had to chew it. And as a freshman, it was a frenzy. But regardless, we were in it, and we were in it together. And it was time to start our official first training day. And that's where we were introduced to our active duty staff and some of our cadet leadership. There, our former commander, Colonel Dayton, who's in the audience, he shared that he had a personal philosophy that people have 3 reasons for doing something: to survive, to save, or to serve. And that while many serve, not everyone can or will. In this moment, he revealed that less than 1% of our homeland ultimately decides to serve. He then highlighted the freshmen specifically, us at that time, and told us to look around and explain that there are people in our class that would not be there at the end of those 4 years. He was right, and so began our freshman experience in Air Force ROTC. Now, some of you had Victor in your Arnold Air Society class, that Kansas DC class, where you had so much information and physical training on top of AFROTC training. Victor also dabbled in a few other things like Red Rope, which is our special warfare development organization for our school. And even with our weekly PT days, these Red Rope guys, they took a gamble with their bodies because they were being pounded out there. We then went through that semester soon and had a cadet who many people think is the ultimate gamble, which is public speaking. So this cadet, one training day, while coincidentally sitting right next to our buddy Victor, this cadet stood up proudly with his chest out and his chin down. And to the soon-to-be lieutenants at that time, who had just got their jobs, he said, "I'll see you there." But disastrously, he was not seeing them there as he separated from the program soon after that. But I want you to remember the phrase, "I'll see you there." Moving to the spring semester, we had a lot of events to check out. One of the big events was Camp Tiger Bay, or CTB. From around 4 a.m. to 5 p.m., that entire day, we were out at the Volusia County Sheriff's Department training grounds. And there's this place called the Shoot House, which is a house, and you do paintball in there. So it's especially hurtful when you get hit with the paintball because you're like 5 feet away from people. And that's, after that, we saw the Thunderbirds for our first time here in Daytona. We have planes flying over all the time, so we tuned out the sound mostly, but then a lot of people recall a sound that you could not tune out. A thunderous screech from the heavens above that made you scan the skies for the source of the roaring force. And in their full might, you could see the cobalt bird of prey emblazoned on the bottom of that airplane. And I swear, you could literally see the ambition in our eyes. And Victor, he had the widest smile of us all. And as fate would have it, 2 years later, in an incentive flight, our president, Dr. Butler, he was another eagle lifted by the wings of a falcon. Our second to last big event is called Dining Out, where the entire cadet wing gets together. And that is at the center of the room. It was a very scary thing. It is the ultimate gamble for a particularly silly Air Force ROTC cadet. Now, I want everybody to imagine their favorite ingredient. So maybe savory tomato sauce, or rice with its salty soy sauce, or divine Hershey's chocolate. At the grog, you get all 3 all at once in a literal toilet bowl. So it's pretty nasty. Regrettably, our friend Victor, he goofed up a few times throughout the semester, and the entire cadet wing witnessed Victor go up to the stage and take a spoonful of that grog juice. But once the grog closed for the night, we were all good. Our stomachs kind of settled, although some were already feeling the effects of tasting the grog. The semester was almost over, and then once we hit the April, training was done, and we finished our first year of Air Force ROTC. So that was a lot for our first year, but these next years are going to go by a little bit faster. So just remember, that was the first gamble that we took. On to our sophomore year. So this is a crazy year. This is our second big gamble that we took. We knew that this was the year we were selected to continue in the program or not. We thought that with a year under our belt, we were practically professionals. We, in fact, were not professionals, with some even saying unprofessional, but we'll get to more on that here soon. Our next cadet to meet is Timmy. So we had Victor, now we're meeting Timmy. Again, everybody in our class knows and loves Timmy. That fall semester was a bit of a blur because we were looking to the monster that is what's called Field Training Preparation, or FTP. This semester's whole purpose was to prepare us for a 17-day evaluation period at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama, the Devil's Living Room. Up to this year, we were close with each other on the flight and maybe even on the squadron level. But across the class, we weren't close, but that did change. And our first big event was to fill our sandbags. And regardless of our body weight, everybody had to carry it to 35 pounds, to fill it up to 35 pounds of sand. But that event was the biggest moment in that semester that defined our first gathering as a class. Now, Timmy, he was an AS-250, meaning he started ROTC his sophomore year. So they had an entire year's worth of training to catch up on. But they were all equals in our eyes for the people that had already been there for a year. Also in this semester, we had known most of our detachment staff, but there was one whose likeness eluded us. At the time, we have a staff that has since moved on. Some of them are here today. But the one who has been with us the longest so far is Captain Schaefer up here in the second row. So clap it up for Captain Schaefer, please. And of course, Miss Marie has been here as well. So thank you, Miss Marie. But back to the cadet side of things. So we have these things called knowledge sign-offs. So you have to rattle off information that you are required to memorize, and you have to do that all at the position of attention while being evaluated. And if you did what Timmy sometimes did and wanted to complete the sign-off at 4:50, you only had 10 minutes to get it done, or you were cooked. But we knew what we dreamed to do, and this was just another step to get to that point. The biggest thing to work towards now was what's called an enrollment allocation, or an EA. That's our ticket to go to field training and then come back the next semester. We eventually got our selection results, but unfortunately, some of our cadets, their gamble did not pay off. But for the cadets whose bets hit, they charged on. We went through a handful of sandpit workouts, worked out 600 of the 700 of the 600 muscles in your body. We had nearly entire class to get together on the beach, had to get together out there. And some went through the grueling day that was CTB once more. And there was this instance of Timmy's flight mate whose mind and body were apparently in constant conflict. I don't know what that was about. But because we lead the pack, we had loads of fun all the way it was time to go to field training. First, we bust down to Maxwell. Day one, get yelled at while it's 95 degrees out. The next day at 4 a.m., wake up to banging on the doors and more yelling. Standing at attention in the dark while doing reveille and somehow already have 21 mosquitoes having a buffet line on your legs. Rinse and repeat all day, every day for a week and some change. Then after that week and some change, we went to what's called Vigilant Warrior, or VW. Now, if Maxwell was the devil's living room, then VW was the devil's attic. After our VW stint, we went back to Maxwell and had our graduation ceremony. We were officially professional officer course cadets. Coming in as an AS-250 was a monumental gamble for Timmy, but it paid off for him. Now, to our 300 year, our third year. AS-300 year was our junior year. Well, we meet our final person, Ida. So we have Victor, Timmy, now we're on to Ida. Ida was one of the few who won the award for being in the top 10% of field training graduates, called Distinguished Graduate. Ida was flourishing, but at this point, we were all flourishing. This was the most independent that we had been up to that point because most of us now lived off campus, and we had a responsibility in the cadet wing. In the case of Ida and several others, we were the ones training the classes under us. So these AS-300s and 200s over there, we were training them. And it was a tough time because we had a lot of friends, and you had to make that transition quickly. Now, remember when I said some would call us unprofessional? Junior year is when we really lived up to our nickname, the Unprofessionals. And Ida was probably the most unprofessional of us all, but we had issues all over the place. And there's one instructor who's in the crowd over here whose wrath was unwavering, and he let us know we had problems and made sure we did not forget about it. That and gambling is apparently unprofessional, so we had to maintain standards for ourselves. Going forward, we were the Blackjacks. So far, you only know 3 of us by name: Victor, Timmy, and Ida. And, you know, I said the class knows these people by name, but I guarantee if you ask one of these guys or gals up here right now, if they knew who that was, they would not know. But I'm going to tell you who they are. They are every single person that you see in this seat about to commission. Your brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, the whole nine. The guys and gals you call your best friend, and then some you won't even see until squadron command. Now, try to recall all the stories that I told and imagine yourself in that situation, because that surely was you guys. Coincidentally, Victor, Timmy, and Ida stand for the letters VTI, which is our motto. Now, recall what the cadet, the proud cadet that did the public speaking, what he said, "I'll see you there." In Latin, it's Videbo te ibi, so that's our motto. It's our proclamation for unceasing victories we will experience. Finally, the wagering blackjacks as you know them today. The blackjacks are the commissioning seniors who have been primed for the pursuit of perfection at Detachment 157, whose relentless campaign for an Air Force career will be realized here today. There are 62 soon-to-be lieutenants to my left and to my right. 39 of us were selected to dominate those skies and flying rated positions. 30 of us will go to command those skies as pilots in the swiftest, heaviest, and most marvelous aircraft ever made. 7 of us will protect our families, friends, colleagues in the space domain, both physical and virtual. 3 of us will glide on the wings of partnership with our NATO allies, where we're trained with young officers from Denmark, Belgium, Germany. 5 of us were selected to defy physics at Fort Novosel, Alabama, among the few training to govern the might of helicopters. This year, this blackjack was the only AFROTC select for Special Tactics Officer. He was supposed to go to helicopter training, but he decided he was hungry. So he is part of the Special Tactics Officer, which is a special warfare community, one of the truly exclusive special warfare communities. 2 of us are among the most elite thinkers in the world, selected to go to the Air Force Institute of Technology, and those selected, they will get their master's degree paid for while engaging in the most demanding but rewarding research. 2 of us were determined that the preservation and betterment of human life is what they were called to do, and will be paid to learn medicine for the Air Force and have their medical schooling paid for. Lastly, we'll have some stay behind for 2 or 1 more semester to complete their degree, becoming the wise old super seniors. The rest of us have stories not even written yet, but will be brimming with success. Colonel Adams and Lieutenant Colonel Puglisi, they are senior class instructors, and they have been keeping us informed about world events, i.e. we actually like going to class. That's one of the only classes that a lot of us enjoyed going to. So thank you for that, gentlemen. But that's it for me, and to the AS-300s over there in the crowd, it's your wing to command now. Blackjacks, it's almost time for our blue Kool-Aid moment, blue Kool-Aid moment. Remember, when you wake up, lion mode. When you show up to your first base, lion mode. When training gets vicious, lion mode. Lastly, while we look towards our future, Videbo te ibi. I'll see you there.
Thank you, Second Lieutenant Select Simeon Span. Now, I have the great and distinct privilege and honor to introduce our guest speaker for today's ceremony, Major General Retired Gregory H. Power. Major General Power is a command pilot with over 4,000 flight hours. He served as the Director of Operations and Support Integration in the Office of the Secretary of the Air Force in Washington, D.C. In his role, he was responsible for leading efforts in command and control, communications, computer intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and ensuring that these systems acted as a force multiplier across air and space force combat operations. He also oversaw innovation activities, developed modeling and simulation policy, and guided operational support modernization across the entire Air Force. Major General Power earned his commission through Detachment 157's ROTC program in 1975. He's commanded at multiple levels to include a B-52 squadron, a B-2 operations group, the 5th Bomb Wing at Minot Air Force Base, and the 55th Wing at Offutt Air Force Base. His staff assignments include multiple tours at the Pentagon, service as an executive officer to senior leaders within both the Air Staff and the Secretary of the Air Force's office. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the front of the stage, Major General Retired Gregory H. Power.
I wish they'd quit saying 50 years ago. Wow, what an exciting day for all of our prospective lieutenants I'm going to get this to the right level here. There we go. I'm excited to be here, as you might imagine. A few of my classmates are with us today, graduating in 1975 on April 25th was our commissioning day, so just a week or two ago, we had our 50th anniversary since commissioning. Now all retired from service, but it's been a great time, and I just want to talk to you about it. Now, I know what's on your mind. You're saying, okay, he graduated in 1975, so he was probably 21 or 22. I was actually 21 because my birthday's in August. And now we fast forward 50 years, and now I'm 71. And so when you're 71, you have a lot of stories. Oh, man. And I could talk for maybe 2 hours, but I promise you I won't. Because I'm very fortunate that even though I'm old, Marianne and I have 9 grandchildren. And our youngest grandson, Harvey, who's 3 years old, taught me on my iPhone how to set the alarm. Anytime I had trouble with an iPhone or iPad or anything, I give it to Harv or his brother, who's 6 years old, and they'll do the swiping and punching, and they fix it for me. You see, they are what I'd like to call IT natives. They grew up in this world, in the information technology world, whereas a lot of us are IT immigrants, and we're adapting slowly. So what I'm going to do right now is take Harvey's lesson, and right now it's 15:29. I'm going to set my alarm for 7 o'clock tonight. No, 15:29. I'm going to set it for 15:40 to give me an extra minute, okay? And when that alarm goes off, I'm going to make a deal with you. It's kind of like the Monty Hall deal. Okay, I'll make a deal with you. When the alarm goes off, I'll stop talking, and you start clapping, okay? And I'm going to hold you to it, so please help me out as the alarm goes off. So I'm going to keep this as brief as I can because I know there's an anxious families and friends out here who want to see these gold bars go on, these young men and women, and it's going to be an awesome event this afternoon. So Harvey taught me how to set the alarm. It's all set right now for 15:40. And our DVs have already been announced, and so I don't need to recognize them, but thank you all for being here. I think it's awesome that you've had taken time out of your schedules to be with us here today. Colonel Dayton gave me a dad joke, but I told him if I told it and no one laughed, I was going to blame it on him, but I wouldn't even tell it. So. But first of all, I'd like to recognize my beautiful wife, Marianne, in the front row there. She's been with me. We've been together almost 48 years now, and thank you. Yeah, she's put up with me all those years, and we raised 4 children. All 4 of them right now are college graduates. Most importantly, and the parents out here will appreciate this, they're employed college graduates. And what we like to say is they're off the payroll. When they're off the payroll, that means you can do empty nest type things like we've been doing, and we travel all the time now. In fact, when we're home in Henderson, Tennessee, where we live right now, just north of Nashville, our neighbors ask us if we still live there because we're hardly ever there. So this was another opportunity to come down here. But Marianne's been a great partner over these years, and I love you a lot. Thanks. But I also want to recognize the other members of, I don't want to feel like the only person that's been commissioned 50 years ago. I wanted these guys to join in the old age problem that I have. First of all, Colonel Chuck Graff on the end there with his wife Liz. Chuck and I, we all went to school here together, obviously in the ROTC detachment. He went off to pilot training right away, or pretty close after we graduated. He and his wife Liz are here. He's a local Daytona Beach area, just up the coast, and he gets very involved with the detachment and the school. He's a great supporter for you folks, so you're lucky to have him in your area. Next, thank you. Yeah. Next to him are good friends, Colonel Vic Vaccaro and his wife Donna. Vic is a 30-year combat pilot, 30 years on active duty in the Air Force, just like me, and is now retired. He lives just south of here in New Smyrna Beach, and another local friend of yours. So glad to have Vic and Donna with us today, too. And finally, but not last, Lieutenant Colonel, retired Ken Bell, and his wife Charlotte. They live up in the New Hampshire area, just north of Boston, and he's retired at 20 years, not as a pilot, but as an R&D specialist and a program manager. And he still contributes today in some system engineering work that he does with the Hanscom Air Force Base folks in Massachusetts that you all may be familiar with. So welcome to Ken and Charlotte. So I want to take the remaining 8 minutes that I have to spend a little time with talking about the families and the cadets here, and maybe offer some advice about things that I learned during my career that hopefully maybe you'll retain maybe one or two of them and put into use yourself. The first thing that I think most of us know is we didn't get here by ourselves. None of us did. I didn't. You all didn't. You always had help. You had help along the way. So the cadets, I hope that you're offering your thanks to your parents and your friends and your family that have supported you, spouses, children in some cases, that got you through these years here at Embry-Riddle and are now launching you on your next adventure in the Air Force. So thanks to your parents and your family. I also want you to pay special thanks to Colonel Adams and the cadre who did a great job preparing you for your journey that's ahead of you. And we all know that they did a great job preparing you, but we also know that Miss Marie was the brains behind the operation. Let's get things straight here. But you're going to be joining over 300,000 active duty Air Force members when you come on active duty, along with about 170,000 Air Force Reserve and Air National Guard folks. So it's a big team. And so the first lesson I wanted to talk about as I get through my remarks here is that you're a lieutenant when you walk out of here, and you're expected to be a leader. We all know that. That's what officers do. But in addition to be a leader, you also need to think about being a follower. And what I mean by that is you'll be in places where you're not the highest ranking person, and the person that outranks you has something that they want to do, and maybe you disagree with them, or you have some information you think maybe they don't have. I like to call that an opportunity to give your boss a yeah, but. Yeah, but boss, did you realize that this and this and this could happen if we do what you say? Giving them pause and possibly changing their mind to go in a different direction. You owe it to them because you're smart, and you may have information your boss doesn't have. So you get that one yeah, but. Now, when the boss decides we're still going to do exactly what they said at the very beginning, then it's time to press on, salute smartly, and get on with it. But you owe your boss that yeah, but if you think you have a better idea or have some information they don't have. The second lesson I think is really important, and I tried to do it here this morning or this afternoon as I was walking around prior to the event. Smile and be kind. Sometimes it's hard to act like you're having fun when you're not. I'm having fun today, so I don't have to act at all. But there'll be times in your career where you'll be maybe not too happy, but you're an officer and people are looking at you and seeing how you're handling yourself. And so look like you're having fun even when you're not. And if you want to be unhappy, go find an office, be unhappy in the office. Then when you come back out, put on that big smile and be the leader that we all expect you to be. Your mood will affect the whole unit where you're working. So smile and be kind. That's what I say. The third thing I'd talk about is that the most important job that you're going to have in the Air Force is the one that you're doing at the current moment. And so when you go to your first duty assignment and you have a job to do, and sometimes it's not something you really want to do, but that's the position you will put in, do it the best you can. No whining and griping and groaning. Do the best you can at the job you have, because that's going to pay off for you later on. Your boss will recognize that you're doing something that maybe you're not too happy about, but you're going to do it to the best of your ability. So that'll be the most important thing you can do for yourself, and you'll be able to move on from there. The next thing I want to talk about is recognizing the worth and the value of our NCO and enlisted force. You all got to see that here in your cadre, because they're great folks. I've met a number of them since we've been here the last 2 days. Make sure you pay attention to your NCOs and your enlisted force, because a lot of them, many of them, will have higher degrees than you do. They may have master's degrees or even PhDs. And so make sure you give them the proper respect and dignity they deserve, because they're wonderful. And the last lesson is kind of not complicated, but it's a little different than maybe what you've heard before. And I call it the Greg Power 1/3 theory. 1/3 means 1/3 of your job, 1/3 of your career progression is up to you. You need to do your job. You need to do it to the best of your ability. You need to do your professional military education, squadron officer school, Air Command and Staff College as you go along, Air War College eventually when you become a lieutenant colonel or colonel. So do your professional military education. Get your advanced academic degrees when you have the opportunity, master's degrees, et cetera. So that 1/3 of the puzzle is up to you. So do that. That's in your control and you can handle that. The second third that I like to talk about is up to your boss. Now, Some of you will get to work for just wonderful people, and they will take care of you, they will mentor you, they will write great performance reports on you, and you'll be on your way, and that's awesome. But guess what? That doesn't always happen, and you have no control over that. So there's nothing much you can do about who your boss is, except to understand who your boss is and where they're coming from, and then try to work with them so that they get to know you and see what value you bring to the fight and what a good person you are and what a good officer you are. So the second third of the puzzle is your boss. So hopefully you'll get great bosses. I was very fortunate to have many along the way, but I had some that weren't so great. So hopefully you'll get some great bosses and they'll take care of you, and your career will progress very well. And the final third really has to do with, I just like to put it in the luck or timing category, and we're perfect examples of the class of 75 of that timing thing. We all graduated with prospective pilot slots. We were told we had to wait a little while because Vietnam had just ended and there was a backlog, so they said you're going to have to wait about a year or so, and then you're going to get to go to pilot training. Okay, we said okay, so we went off and did various things. We weren't on active duty, we were commissioned but not serving it yet, and what happens is about a year later, we got letters in the mail saying you're not going to pilot training because they still had too many pilots. And so a few of us came into the Air Force in different career fields. I went to the aircraft maintenance career field, and I was on the flight line for a couple of years, and I loved it. Working with those crew chiefs out on the flight line, what a great job as a second lieutenant. I still wanted to be a pilot, but I had a great job being a maintenance officer. Well, about 2 years after I was on active duty, pilot training opened up again, and I reapplied and was fortunately accepted. In fact, when I got to pilot training at Advanced Air Force Base in Oklahoma, the very first check ride I got was from Colonel Graff, who was in my class at Embry-Riddle. And he passed me. We did the Detachment 157 handshake before the check ride. No, seriously, he was a fair evaluator. But the point is, I got the pilot training later on. So sometimes you don't have any choice in what comes down. There's a lot of things that you got to be flexible about, and you may get assignments or duties that you don't, you'd rather do something else, but you're going to do the ones you've got to the best of your ability. And I tried to do that as a maintenance officer. I tried to be as best I could, and it paid off for me later on as I would progress on. The thing that was really interesting was that being a maintenance officer with a bunch of enlisted crew chiefs on the flight line, after I left to go to pilot training, I never really had that level of responsibility again until I was a lieutenant colonel commanding a B-52 squadron at Loring Air Force Base. Oh, look at that. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Thank you very much. It's really been a pleasure to be with you here today. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again. We got some gifts for you, sir.
Okay. You guys are good.
Thank you, sir. The Detachment 157 2025 Commission class would like to present you with a gift. Would Second Lieutenant Select Deshaun Pooler please come to the stage to present that gift?
Thanks, Joseph.
Of course, sir.
Is it a good gift? Will it fit in my suitcase?
Sir. Sir, on behalf of the Blackjacks class, sir, we just want to say thank you and the class of 75 for coming out here for us, sir.
Jake,
Yes, sir.
take, salute.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, we would like to bring Detachment 157 Commander Colonel Greg Adams to the stage for his remarks.
Yeah! Sorry, Beauvais. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, honorary commanders, families, friends, my boss, Miss Marie Rolfs. Where is she? There she is. She keeps us in check. The Det 157 cadre, the class of 1975, and most importantly, the Embry-Riddle class of 2025, the Blackjacks. Today is the culmination of your 1,450-day cadet career, and more for some of you who needed additional training. Right? Some of you guys are out there. This class started here in the fall of 2021, just like Cadet Span told you earlier, during the COVID mask era. with about 178 cadets, and now there are 62 strong. Before we continue, cadre members, please stand up. I know we've already recognized them, but we have 12 cadre members here that will likely be teaching 700 cadets next fall in the fall semester. These folks right here were hand-selected to teach the future of our air and space forces. So thank you all for your mentorship and your care for our cadets. Thank you all. I also want to thank the Embry-Riddle leadership, President Butler, Dean Hoffman, and others for all your support that you give Det 157. I have friends that are ROTC commanders around this entire nation, and most of them do not enjoy the type of relationship that we have here with you. So we are fortunate to have it. So thank you guys very much. I am honored to be able to stand here and see this class commission and start your careers in the Air Force and Space Force. Lieutenant Colonel Puglisi and I have had the honor of teaching this class during their senior year. We have talked to all of you about life on active duty, what to do with your first paycheck, and what not to do with your first paycheck, from my personal experience. We have even talked to some of you together in our latest service called Caddating Counseling, where the old folks try to talk cadet couples out of making bad life decisions. And the parents in this audience will be happy to hear that we have a solid 12% success rate. I'm sure they'll figure it out. These soon-to-be LTs are going to go out to do our nation's work and keep us safe, and to defend our American way of life. At a time when most young people in our nation are not eligible for military service, these men and women not only joined, but also thrived. And now, these newly minted officers are heading out to do some amazing things. Go out there and make some history. Do the things that you'll tell your grandkids about when you're old. Remember the golden rule, because many of your peers will forget it, even four-star generals and politicians. Be humble, credible, and approachable, and demand the same from your subordinates. Tell the people that you have an open-door policy and really mean it. Listen to other people's problems even when you don't have time, and truly listen before you speak. If you walk away with nothing else from this speech, remember this: there is one thing that you can do to improve the culture around you. Light the morale of your fellow airmen and guardians, and it's to have fun and a hell of a lot of it. To the families and friends, welcome. They couldn't have done this without you. This is your day, just like it's theirs. Sending your child off to college is no doubt a tough task, but you not only did that, you entrusted them to this rigorous program, and we thank you for that. You rode the ups and downs and answered late-night calls with support and love. You learned a new vocabulary and figured out where Maxwell Air Force Base was on the map. Your unending encouragement is a reason that these fine seniors are here today. Thank you all. To the freshmen, sophomore, and junior Soaring Eagle cadets in the crowd, don't forget why you came to Det 157, and never let your dream fade. It is tough to get to this stage, and it isn't handed out for free. Keep forging ahead, and soon it will be your right hand that raises to take the oath of this great nation. But today, it's about these 62 lieutenants that we're about to make. I am incredibly proud of each one of you. I have come across hundreds, if not thousands, of military officers in my time in uniform, and I can say without a doubt that in a matter of minutes, you may be the newest officers, but also that will be the most dedicated and certainly the smartest officers I have ever served with. The honor is mine. Soar, Eagles, soar. Thank you.
Thank you again, sir. At this time, we would like to announce the award for the Distinguished Graduate Award. The Distinguished Graduate Award is awarded to commissionees whose passion, hard work, and dedication have resulted in their performance in the top 10% of their class. This is the only award that will stay with them on active duty. Will Colonel Adams please remain on the stage and present the Distinguished Graduate Award? Award recipients, please come to the stage to receive your award, and the Distinguished Graduate Award is presented to Second Lieutenant Select David Thompson. The next distinguished graduate is Second Lieutenant Select David Mell. The next distinguished graduate is Second Lieutenant Select Simeon Span. The next distinguished graduate is Second Lieutenant Select Danielle Norris. The next distinguished graduate is Second Lieutenant Select Christopher Abel.
I thought they were all going to be over there.
I know. The next distinguished graduate is Second Lieutenant Select Sadid Khan.
We'll come over. Just want to get your steps in. Thank you, sir.
And the final distinguished graduate award is presented to Second Lieutenant Select Robert Monroe. Congratulations, recipients. And at this time, we would like to thank Colonel Adams and Lieutenant Colonel Puglisi with a gift on behalf of all of the commissioning class here today. Would Second Lieutenant Select Mel please come forward to present this gift?
There you go, Mel. Good job.
We wanted to thank Colonel Adams, Lieutenant Colonel Puglisi today. Although they were only with us for 1 year, they made a long-lasting impact on the 62 commissionees today and some of the cadets behind to the side here. And so we wanted to thank them. We have 2 plaques of signed cards to be given to them in a frame to remember the Blackjacks as their first commissioning class. So. We have another one for you, sir. We have another one. So I guess we can. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you again to Colonel Adams and Lieutenant Colonel Puglisi. At this time, we would like to thank Miss Marie Rolfs with a gift on behalf of the commissioning class here today. Would Second Lieutenant Select Thompson please come forward to present her a gift? Thank you to Miss Marie. Ladies and gentlemen, the commissioning ceremony will now begin. Military oaths date back to ancient Rome, where soldiers would pledge their loyalty to a specific general. Our founding fathers agreed upon the importance of having an oath and incorporated it not only into the military, but all government entities. Although the oath has evolved, the meaning behind it has withstood the test of time. The oath of office presents the sacrifice these individuals will make as officers to defend the Constitution and uphold the core values of integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. By taking this oath, these cadets stand proudly in front of you, dedicating themselves not only to the United States, but to the airmen, guardians, and fellow officers who will be standing there beside them. The freedom and safety of our great nation is their responsibility. To commemorate their new responsibility and position, commissionees will have their second lieutenant ranks pinned onto their uniform by friends and family. We will now begin the oath of office and rank pinning portion of our ceremony. Will the commissionees now detail to their respective positions? Ladies and gentlemen, once your commissionee's name is called upon, you may begin to pin the rank of second lieutenant onto your commissionee's uniform. We will have our photographers coming around to take photos as quickly as possible. Additionally, we ask that all guests please hold their applause until the final commissionee is pinned. We ask that all guests in the bleachers remain seated, as there will be opportunities after the ceremony to take photos with your commissionee. The first commissionee will be Kashawn Abel of the U.S. Virgin Islands. He will enter the Air Force as a combat systems officer. His first duty station is Naval Air Station, Pensacola. The next commissionee will be Chris Abel from Laurel, Montana. He will enter the Air Force as a developmental engineer in aeronautics. His first duty station is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Alexander Antonakis from Port St. Lucie, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Aiden Babiars from Boston, Massachusetts. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Alexander Baker from Union, Kentucky. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and his first duty station will be Columbus Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Annalise Beauchamp from Long Island, New York. She will enter the Space Force as a Space Operations Officer. Her first duty station is Peterson Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be Jonathan Bazzano from Golden, Colorado. He will enter the Air Force as a physicist and nuclear engineer. His first duty station is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Daniel Bowen from Yonkers, New York. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Vance Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Jesus Gabriel Cardona de Jesus from Hatillo, Puerto Rico. He will enter the Air Force as a remotely piloted aircraft pilot, and his first duty station will be Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. The next commissionee will be Hannah Carnley from Allen, Texas. She will enter the Air Force as a pilot. Her first duty station is Columbus Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Noah Courtney from Half Moon Bay, California. He will enter the Air Force as a remotely piloted aircraft pilot. His first duty station will be Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. The next commissionee will be Olivia Dahlberg from Phoenix, Arizona. She will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and her first duty station is Columbus Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Angelo Da Silva from Orange Park, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a nuclear and missile operations officer. His first duty station is Vandenberg Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be Mark Denny from Coatesville, Pennsylvania. He will enter the Air Force as an intelligence officer. His first duty station is Goodfellow Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be James Diaz from Prairieville, Louisiana. He will enter the Space Force as a space operations officer. His first duty station is Peterson Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be Elliot Ewan Barrup from Tyrone, Georgia. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and his first duty station is Columbus Air Force Base. The next commissionee is Ephraim Fitzsimmons from Lutherville, Maryland. He will enter the Air Force as an aircraft maintenance officer. His first duty station is Kadena Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Leighton Foxworthy from Miami, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Vance Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Justin Garcia from San Antonio, Texas. He will enter the Air Force as a nuclear and missile operations officer. His first duty station is Vandenberg Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be Troy Gleason from Elbridge, New York. He will enter the Air Force as a remotely piloted aircraft pilot. His first duty station will be Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. The next commissionee will be Evan Grimes from Charlottesville, Virginia. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and his first duty station will be Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Aiden Haffey from Marietta, Georgia. He will enter the Air Force as a Security Forces Officer. His first duty station is Moody Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Nicholas Haldy from Trinity, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a Nuclear and Missile Operations Officer. His first duty station is Vandenberg Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be Brantley Hart from Ashburn, Virginia. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Mitchell Hemmingson from Burnsville, North Carolina. He will enter the Air Force as a Special Tactics Officer Select. His first duty station is Hurlburt Field. The next commissionee will be Thaddeus Henry from Bealeton, Virginia. He will enter the Air Force as an Air Battle Manager. His first duty station is Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Isaac Hewitt from Richlands, North Carolina. He will enter the Air Force as a Cyberspace Operations Officer. His first duty station will be Keesler Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Michael Hopkins from Long Island, New York. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Columbus Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Andy Hoja from Tirana, Albania. He will enter the Air Force as a developmental engineer in aeronautics. His first duty station is Fort Meade. The next commissionee will be Bryson Jones from Eagle River, Alaska. He will enter the Air Force as a munitions and missile maintenance officer. His first duty station is Mountain Home Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Sadid Khan from Leesburg, Virginia. He will enter the Space Force as a Space Operations Officer. His first duty station is Peterson Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be Kian Lo Melendez from Canovanas, Puerto Rico. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and his first duty station is Vance Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Ryan Lucas from Palm Bay, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a Nuclear and Missile Operations Officer. His first duty station is Vandenberg Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be William Majuk from Cobleskill, New York. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Vero Martinez from Scottsdale, Arizona. He will enter the Air Force as a remotely piloted aircraft pilot and will be stationed at Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. The next commissionee will be Keishley Medina Sanchez from Morovis, Puerto Rico. She will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and her first duty station is Vance Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be David Mell from Long Branch, New Jersey. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot through the Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training Program. His first duty station is Shepherd Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Chris Miller from Littleton, Colorado. He will enter the Air Force as a helicopter pilot through the Helicopter Training Program. His first duty station will be Fort Novacell. The next commissionee will be Emily Miller from Stuart, Florida. She will enter the Air Force as a remotely piloted aircraft pilot, and her first duty station is Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. The next commissionee will be Luis Morales from Las Vegas, Nevada. He will enter the Air Force as a remotely piloted aircraft pilot, and his first duty station will be Vance Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Robert Monroe from Orlando, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a helicopter pilot through the Helicopter Training Program. His first duty station is Fort Novacell. The next commissionee will be Danielle Norris from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She will enter the Air Force to attend medical school at the Uniformed Services University of Health and Sciences. Her first duty station is the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. The next commissionee will be Diego Ochoa of Pembroke Pines, Florida. He will enter the Space Force as a Space Operations Officer. His first duty station is Peterson Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be Deshaun Pooler from Okinawa, Japan. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Sarah Reed from Smithville, New Jersey. She will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and her first duty station is Vance Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Priscilla Schmidt from Las Vegas, Nevada. She will enter the Air Force as a helicopter pilot through the helicopter training program. Her first duty station is Fort Novosel. The next commissionee will be Erica Shelton from Roswell, Georgia. She will enter the Air Force to attend medical school at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. Her first duty station is the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. The next commissionee will be Dominic Salvatore Siena from Fairport, New York. He will enter the Air Force as an intelligence officer. His first duty station is Goodfellow Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Alexander Simoes from Sayreville, New Jersey. He will enter the Space Force as a space operations officer. His first duty station will be Peterson Space Force Base. The next commissionee will be Simeon Spann from Marietta, Georgia. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot through the Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training Program. His first duty station is Shepherd Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Christopher Starnes from Miami, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a helicopter pilot through the Helicopter Training Program. His first duty station is Fort Novosel. The next commissionee will be Jaden Stevenson from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He will enter the Air Force as a developmental engineer in astronautics. His first duty station is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Tyler Stitchberry from Havelock, North Carolina. He will enter the Air Force as a combat systems officer. His first duty station is Naval Air Station, Pensacola. The next commissionee will be Cooper Svoboda from Omaha, Nebraska. He will enter the Air Force as a remotely piloted aircraft pilot, and his first duty station is Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. The next commissionee will be Jeffrey Tavares from Fort Walton Beach, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and his first duty station is Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee is Patrick Thayer from Northfield, Massachusetts. He will enter the Air Force as a remotely piloted aircraft pilot, and his first duty station will be Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. The next commissionee will be David Thompson III from Alexandria, Louisiana. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot through the Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training Program. His first duty station is Shepherd Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Matthew Tomasulo from Niceville, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Laughlin Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be David Wilburn from Lottsville, Virginia. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Vance Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Jacob Wysocki from Wentzville, Missouri. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot. His first duty station is Vance Air Force Base. The next commissionee will be Carter Yuskovic from Rockledge, Florida. He will enter the Air Force as a pilot, and his first duty station is Vance Air Force Base. The last commissionee will be Michael Yoon from Orlando, Florida. He will enter the Space Force as a space operations officer, and his first duty station will be Peterson Space Force Base. They might drop his pins. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the United States Air Force's and United States Space Force's newest second lieutenants. Thank you to all the distinguished visitors, family, and friends that were able to join us on this monumental occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are able, please remain standing to join us and our newest second lieutenants in the singing of the Air Force and Space Force song. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our under. Give them the gun. Out in the sky, spouting our flames from under. We got one more. Where the mighty watchful eye, guardians beyond the blue, the invisible front line, war fighters brave and true, boldly reaching into space, and limit to our sky, standing guard both night and day, with the Space Force from on high. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. Thank you for attending and witnessing this important milestone in these young officers' careers. At this time, we would like to invite everyone to proceed to the detachment lawn and watch our newest second lieutenants do a champagne toast with Colonel Adams. Blackjacks, you may stand at ease. You are dismissed. I'm only a little illiterate.